Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I'm Josh Hallman.
And we are Act Two, a network yet support group for the everyday working screenwriter, of which this podcast is one of the things we do. So thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, because you're probably like, oh, I didn't know that topic came out or that interview came out. Well, now, if you subscribe, you could know.
Yeah.
That's my pitch.
No, that's good. And I just want to also say, I've said this the last couple of weeks. I feel like we've had some really, really good episodes, just in terms of like the interviews, everything. I think it's been great. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we deserve to give ourselves our own review.
5 stars.
I think our episodes have been pretty great. We've had some really interesting interviews, which I've just nerded out in them.
Yeah.
And forgot we were interviewing. But you could also DM us with any questions you might have, topic suggestions, things that come up, follow-up questions you might have to these interviews or to the topics that we talk about. We really love to hear those, because that adds specificity to the problem, right? We can often talk about a general thing like free work, for example, but then you come in with, hey, this is specifically what's actually happening to me. Can you talk about that? And we love those, because specificity helps other people, because while you feel like it's just you alone feeling this thing or going through this thing, it's not. It is actually all very common, oddly. And you can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I'm Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram.
Josh Hallman, do you have any this week's in writings?
Yeah, I think I do.
Well, we have a really good episode today, I think. We have some fun this week's in writings. We have gotten coverage from a studio on our screenplays, our old screenplays. So we're going to read those to you and talk about how humiliating they are. And then we're going to talk about some Oscar nominees, specifically the screenplay nominees for Oscars 2026.
'Tis the season. Oscar season.
It is a season. All right, this week in writing.
This week in writing.
I've had this idea just circling in my mind just for a while, where it's, it's one of those things where, like, in downtime, I would think about it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. It's an action comedy idea. And I would just kind of think. And then so the other day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write the opening sequence of this and just see how it feels. And so I did. And I don't even have an outline for it. I know like kind of where it ends and like whatever, but I knew what the opening was, and I just wrote it, and then I put it away. And I was like, maybe I'll come back to this. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I've still been thinking about it. So I might like dive back in.
That's so interesting. I'm sure it just felt so good, like a release, to be able to write that opener.
It 100% did. And I haven't done this in I couldn't even remember the last time I like just sat down. I was like, I'm just going to write to write. Like usually, as you know, it's like when you're writing something, there's like a plan. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this many pages and get this done. It needs to be submitted by this time and yada, yada. But no.
How did it feel? How is it different? Tell me. Tell me. I haven't done that in so long.
It actually felt really freaking good.
Really?
Yeah, when you do like a journal entry and you're just kind of like getting things off your chest?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt.
Just free.
I was like, oh, this can go anywhere. I was just like, my descriptions were just kind of like, I was just like, F it, and just going with it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I won't. But it's just like sitting there, like in my brain, where it's not like, I don't know. Maybe there's ideas like this out there, but for this, I just had to do it.
And now it's like a little bit more complete. So maybe in your brain, it can like gestate in a stronger way. Yeah. Maybe. Did you discover anything in the free-flowing writing of it? Like, oh, I didn't expect it to go in this direction.
I did, because I just knew what the general idea was. And then as I was writing, it's like this husband and wife. And I was like, oh, so the husband feels this way and the wife feels this way. And like, it just kind of came out, and I was like, oh, that actually works perfectly in their dynamic. And that's like what made me think about continuing, because I just wanted to just like do this and just move on from it and then just talk about it on the podcast. Yeah, now I might dive back in.
That's cool. I like that for you. That sounds nice.
It was glorious.
I plan to do it on something that I am trying to figure out what the Act 2 is, and I don't know. And so my manager has been encouraging me to just write the first that's the first act, which is very clear in my head. And once I get like the work stuff I have to do off my plate, that is going to be the thing I do next. So I'm excited, and I'm glad that it worked for you.
Yeah.
That excites me even more.
I think you're going to figure some things out.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay, one of my this week's in writing is one you told me I had to do, which is that I met with a producer, and we were just talking about movie ideas that we could do set in the world that this producer, their company, they have a franchise, they have an IP, and we just sat down for an hour and a half one day and just was like, hey, like this could work in that world. And I pitched this kind of action movie idea that was a little bit, Josh, it was a little bit of an idea that I had been circling since 2018. I had written a draft of this script and I could never figure it out. And it just kind of like died and just sat in a folder on my desktop. And then it really worked well for this company and their franchise. And so I like kind of I took the core ideas that I loved about it, like kind of like a little bit of the setup, and then moved it into this and kind of pitched that. And it was very loose. It was like this is a cool idea. And the exec would be like, oh yeah, like, and you could go this way. And we were just kind of riffing off each other. And it helps that I'm friends with this producer. So is very casual, very easygoing. There was no feeling like, oh, if I say this stupid thing, like they'll think I'm an idiot. There was no sort of extra pressure to it. And so I was really hyped at the end of this hour and a half meeting. And we talked about, I would say like 1.5 ideas. Like we really talked about this one idea, and then we dipped our toes into a second idea. But when I got home, I was like, all I want to do is write about this first idea. And normally that would take me a long time. Normally it would like fall to the bottom of my list of things to do, but I was so excited and I felt like I wanted to get out what was in my head, what had been just really excited in that meeting onto a page as soon as possible. And so I wrote this thing. It was a 5-page document in 1.5 days. And that's not normal for me. It just kind of all came out. You're going to read it if you haven't already, because we have writers group today. And so I don't know if it sucks, and you can tell I wrote it in 1.5 days. But yeah, it was similar to your feeling at the end of writing your act 1. I was just like, like I feel like the power is flowing through me.
Like He-Man.
Exactly.
It's like you're just like the energy's flowing in.
Yes.
I'm very excited. And also this goes to the idea that your ideas and everyone's ideas are just kind of always kicking around. Like you never know when they're going to recircle and come back into your life.
Yeah, because I couldn't make it work in the 2018 version. And now it just sort of all made sense when it's slotted into this IP.
I've just got one more thing.
Yeah?
Because we're doing an Oscar episode, so I have to bring up the movie Mercy with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, go on.
I would like you to watch this movie.
Oh, God.
It didn't do well at the box office, but I just happened to turn it on. And maybe this goes to the idea that you need to have certain expectations when you watch something. Because I was like, maybe I'll just check this out. And listen, the first like 50 minutes, I was just like in. I put my phone down. I was like, all right, where's this going? It's like made for the social media generation. It's got Chris Pratt. I really want you to watch this. I was going to do an in defense of that one segment I one time tried to fit into the
which I really liked, yeah.
podcast. I would love to know what other people think of this movie as well.
Okay.
Just from a pure enjoyment perspective.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, I've heard only bad things about it, which has prevented me from seeing it. But conceptually, it's cool. Conceptually, it's actually very close to my CCTV idea. I don't know if you remember that.
Of course I remember that. Oh,
very close.
But this is like more Minority Report-y.
Yeah, and it's very contained, right? Which he really it's set. No, but you go into videos that he's yeah. Okay,
a ton of these videos.
Right.
It's crazy. I want you to watch it, please.
Okay.
If you find time, little movie night.
You know what happens when you do this, though.
Yeah, you won't see it ever. I was going to say until 15 years later, but still ever.
God, has it been 15 years since Attack the Block?
I'll just bring this up one last time on the podcast. I've been begging Tasha to see Attack the Block since it came out, and she still hasn't seen it. She won't see it. I even got her I bought it for her on Apple, and she still won't watch it.
That's how long ago this was, when you could buy movies on Apple and watch them. Like that was a mode of watching movies. Like we don't do that anymore.
I was like, you need to watch this movie. And I think at this point, I think it's stubbornness at this point. I don't know. I can't even explain.
It's forgetfulness. I feel like a way to do it, Josh, is to choose Attack the Block as a movie that we watch and talk about
Oh,
for the Patreon.
that's God damn it.
And then I will have no choice.
That's it. But anyway, yeah, you need to
Okay.
check it out.
I will check it out and we'll do it for a Patreon.
Thank you.
Speaking of Patreon, one of my this week's writings is we did a Q&A on E.T., the Steven Spielberg movie, for our last February Patreon Q&A, where we did a Zoom. Everyone watched the movie, rewatched it. There were some people, Jim, I'm looking at you, who had never seen it and then watched it for the first time for this.
You're kidding me.
It's true.
I'm sorry. I wasn't there. I missed it. I had an event that got moved and I had to go to it. So
weirdly, Josh went to an event at the Motion Picture Academy where there is currently a Spielberg exhibit. So it was all in the spirit, but it was really, really fascinating. And I just want to talk about one of the main takeaways of E.T. There were, of course, many, because Spielberg is a genius. And this was like the highlight, the climax, I feel like, of his career was around this time. But we talked about how music is so informative of how a movie feels and how it makes you feel and how it tells the story.
Yeah.
And if you guys are interested and you don't have time to watch all of E.T., just watch the opener and how E.T. is introduced, and then how like the adults are introduced, and that alone will show you storytelling through shot choices. Notice when they do wides, notice when he does close-ups, and notice what the music is doing. And that opening sequence of introducing E.T. Is a masterclass, I think, in storytelling and filmmaking. And one other piece that was a really cool takeaway was how well Spielberg takes you on an experience. And one example that I brought up was towards the end of the movie, if you remember, E.T. dies, spoiler alert, and Elliot is crying and like giving his last words to E.T. as E.T. is in his little coffin, and then he closes the coffin, and there's like a small window in the coffin, because it's like one of those medical, like, science-y coffins, and he walks away, and it's very, very sad, low point of the movie, and all of a sudden E.T.'s chest starts to glow, indicating that he's alive, but Elliot doesn't see it. Elliot keeps walking. So the audience is like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, Elliot, turn around, like, he's alive, no, stop. And then Elliot walks past this potted plant, which all movie has been an indicator of E.T.'s life. Like, the more the plants die, the more you understand that E.T. is slowly dying. And then suddenly, as he walks by this potted plant, the plant starts to grow again. And that's what indicates to Elliot that he needs to turn around and come back. But in this like very short period, the audience is freaking out. And then we're so relieved when he sees the plant. And it's a simple thing, but I think as writers, our tendency might have been, the heart glows and Elliot realizes that E.T. is alive, and he opens the coffin and he's so excited, instead of taking us on this little mini journey. So that's just one small example of like a lot of these that Spielberg does, but I loved it so much, and it's just every movie he does is a masterclass.
So you touched on this. It's like a symphony, that entire movie.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a visual symphony. I love it.
I feel like we should get into the podcast, but I'd have one more this week in writing that I want to share, because it really is like an of this moment for me.
Just live in the moment then.
Okay. I reread a script of mine. You've read this. It's the adaptation of this book that I'm writing. And I really liked it when I sent it out. And then I'm revising some of it, just giving a little bit more character stuff. Originally, it was like, just like fix some Act 1 stuff. And then as I'm rereading it, I'm like, this is the worst piece of shit script I've ever written in my life. And I hate it. And what am I even doing? Like, if I thought this was good, like, what is my problem?
When did you write it?
When did I write it? I mean,
Yeah.
I sent it to you a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
This
Oh, I
is
thought-
recent. But giving me those like 2 weeks off really helped me be like, oh, fuck. Like, the cause and effect is totally missing. Like, I was just putting these scenes in because I wasn't sure how to get my character from point A to point B instead of
Yeah.
having cause and effect. And oh my God, the structure is totally off. What the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
So I'm like sad this week.
Why does this happen?
Perspective is very important, because you get too caught up into like tweaking and making sure it just fucking makes sense, that you can just read it and you feel something and are not lost. And then when you take a step back and you realize like, oh yes, it technically makes sense, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Now you just
Yeah.
have to make it good.
But the weird thing is like when reading, I'm like, oh, this is good. But then it's not until you come around and you're like, well, there's these, you diagnose your own problems like a month later. And it's like, oh, I
Right.
guess maybe.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I know. The trick is training ourselves to be able to see it quicker, sooner, and all of that.
No,
So,
of course, that's
yeah.
what notes are for. But
Yeah.
there's I won't get into this, but there's so many scripts that you've written that I've been like, this is fucking awesome. And then you're like, I'm like changing the entire thing. And I'm like, what?
Right.
What did I miss?
Yeah. I know. I do that a
Um,
lot. Okay, that's me. I'm depressed this week, guys.
Well, why don't we pick it back up by reading our coverage?
Yeah, this is really gonna pick me up. So as we said, we got coverage back. I think we were inspired by our interview with Ray Colassa, who's a story analyst at Universal Pictures. We interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and very fascinating. Check that episode out. But we were like, we want to know what our coverage was from old scripts that went into the studio. And mine is very, very old. It's from when I was like with my very first manager. God, this must have been, Jesus, what is it, 2010? 11? Like somewhere around there, like a really long time ago.
Simpler times.
Simpler times. And I submitted a script that the basic through line, I'm going to pitch the script. The script was based on Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't originally, but the producer I was working with was like, well, this is a very big story. It's big fantasy. Let's try to get some IP involved. And we were able to convince the Shel Silverstein family to give us the rights to this book, which was incredible because it was a huge favorite of mine when I was a kid. So I kind of like tweaked some things to make it work. But the basic story is this little girl, she's like 10 years old. Her parents die and she refuses to accept that in her grief. And so she goes into the underworld to try to get them back. And in the process of going through that journey and the people that she meets along the way, and it is very Shel Silverstein in that way, like very bizarre people, very kind of hero's journey. And along the way, she realizes, actually, my parents did give me the tools I need to carry on, and I can do this without them. And she does meet them at the end, but it's kind of like a bittersweet goodbye there at the end. So that is my script. I'm going to read this insane coverage. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
The fantasy setting is charming, and the characters are unusual, but a rather small-scale premise and a storyline that is more episodic and repetitive than intended limit feature prospects. The most effective element in this script is the quote-unquote netherworld fantasy setting. Gardner's forest hut, the Shell City, and the rapidly deteriorating capital city all supply unique and intriguing visuals. The giant Anubis creature and the tarot card puzzle that Vera solves supplies some nice visuals. The fiends and wraiths are a bit generic, but the script supplies a visually compelling world that audiences have never really seen before. So, okay, right off the bat, some world building success. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I'm liking it so far.
Yeah, not bad. The script also supplies a nice set of characters. Vera is the main character. Vera is both convincing and sympathetic as the 12-year-old girl who feels abandoned by her parents' sudden deaths. The story charts a clear arc for Vera, perhaps a bit too on the nose at times, in which she must learn to embrace her own powers and accept her loss. The other characters, from the sweetly benign gardener to the double-dealing seer to the fear-driven emperor, add variety and color to the story and prove to be good foils for Vera's journey. The quirky but wise Hinge Man and mysterious Anubis deliver an Alice in Wonderland element to the story.
All right, let's pause. Number one, I remember Gardner. Amazing character. So far,
I loved him.
I loved him too. And this coverage, as far as I'm concerned, is good so far.
It's great so far. Like, this is the best possible version. Good characters, a good world.
Yeah, crushing it.
Next sentence will change. This is the midpoint of the coverage here. Heading to the low point. The dialogue is something of a mixed bag. Thus, the straight dramatic interaction is mostly believable, but sometimes too overtly cryptic. The "you're on a journey and you need to discover your powers" dramatic interaction, which dominates the storyline, too often seems obvious or nakedly didactic. Ugh. Also, The dialogue seems short on humor, and the various characters' explanations of the Netherworld, the Seer, and the Emperor involve too much bald exposition. So my dialogue has gotten much better since then, apparently. I hope. Like, being didactic is like the word. It's like that is absolutely the thing that I have worked very hard to never be. Okay, here we go. The storyline has some fun moments, but plotting often seems arbitrary. That's the problem I'm having right now. And the drama feels repetitive. Also a problem I'm having right now. The opening sequence is perhaps the least effective portion of the story.
Oh, dear God.
The difficulty is that the action is confused by too many jumps forward and backwards in time, and by dramatic interaction with which sometimes seems puzzling. Happily, the story assumes a more conventional structure once the action shifts to the Netherworld. Vera's initial encounter with Gardner is entertaining, and her quest to find her parents and train to be the keeper gives the story a clear dramatic direction. While Vera's encounter with Captain Thornton lays her personal obstacles, Vera's subsequent adventures, including facing Anubis, battling the fiends, facing the beast, dealing with the seer and the green cloak, seem arbitrary and mostly repeat the same plot points. Vera has to face her fears, embrace her own power, and accept her parents' deaths. While Vera's powers slowly grow, the drama mostly treads water, and Vera never seems to get any closer to finding her parents. The last act resolves Vera's personal issues and finalizes her training, but once again, the action mostly repeats plot points the audience has already seen.
I'm going to push back, but anyway, keep going.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Although based on a Shel Silverstein poem, the premise is really about a little girl dealing with her parents' death. The premise dramatizes Vera's interior conflict with a quest in a fantasy world where she has to confront her fears and disappointments. Still, the premise supplies a fuzzy dramatic conflict, Vera versus herself. And the stakes, the Netherworld's disintegration, don't seem that compelling. Also, the concept will appeal to a very narrow demographic, mostly preteen girls.
Wow.
Hard disagree.
Wow.
In addition, the somewhat downbeat themes of confronting fears and accepting the loss of one's parents result in a tone that too often seems glum. In sum, the fantasy world is intriguing and the quirky characters have an Alice in Wonderland charm. However, the concept scope is limited and a rambling, somewhat episodic storyline suggests box office potential will be modest. Pass.
All right. First of all, how do you feel? Let's start there.
I feel sad. Okay, positives. World building, great.
Yeah.
Characterization, fun, cool. Like, if I had nailed that and also nailed my act 2, which is a problem I still struggle with, it's just hard for me, then this would have been a great movie.
Well, I do remember this script, and I love this script. I remember I used to always make comments about Vera, and I feel like that coverage was written by like an older dude, which again, not necessarily a problem, but also, maybe it has to be read by somebody, at least at the entry point, who might have similar sensibilities that you might have, to really kind of see it and then help somebody see it. So anyway, that's good coverage as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Josh. That's a good, like, the best possible pass.
That's a great pass.
Right. I really have to work on my act 2s, though. That is my takeaway. It's okay. I can do it. I taught myself how to write TV. I could teach myself how to write act 2s.
No, you know how to write act 2s. Am I going now?
It's all you. I can't wait. I've never heard this.
So I actually got this in an email. I read the first couple paragraphs and I just stopped. So I haven't read the entire thing. And as you were reading yours, I was like just getting anxious for you. So I inhaled the rest of pretty much all of my coffee. And now I am jittery.
This is perfect. Tell us what the script is, because I don't remember. Which one is this?
Okay. It's called Engaged.
Okay.
And I pitched it as Mr. and Mrs. Smith meet the parents.
So fucking cool.
And it was about a guy who falls in love with a girl, and then turns out that her parents are these kind of like mysterious assassins that he's been hunting. He obviously works for, I can't even remember, the CIA, some shadow agency. I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah. I remember I always pictured Ryan Reynolds in the role.
Yeah, you and everyone else.
Yeah.
Me too. I ended up getting an actor involved, and then it was getting developed over at Heartbeat for a minute, and then the pandemic hit.
Kevin Hart's company.
Kevin Hart, and then the pandemic hit, and it just went away. I mean, it's just
Oh,
so I wrote this
no.
in 2018.
But that means it could still have legs again, right? Like if it was that close and the pandemic is what killed it, there's nothing to say it can't have new life.
I think after this coverage, I think it's going to be dead.
Maybe just do a slight revision based on this coverage. We'll see. They might be wrong. Their coverage might be wrong.
This has gone so wide. I can't even do this anymore. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Engaged. A clever but contrived premise gets an iffy workout in a script that can't figure out if it's a drama or a comedy. And despite its slick execution, this tonal disjunction, along with an overcomplicated, credibility-busting plot, ultimately make the project seem more trouble than it's worth.
I do not think this plot stretches credulity.
That's off the bat. There's like 1% of the coverage.
That's a weird comment to me that it stretches. It's not a bonkers premise at all.
Okay. CIA agent Ryan discovers that his future mother and father-in-law, the Walkers, are assassins who thwarted his last mission, as they, secret agents themselves, recognize him from that mission, but mistakenly believe he's a terrorist friend of Hall, who is the antagonist. The same evil weapons dealer both they and Ryan have been pursuing. Meanwhile, civilian fiancée Clara doesn't know any of this. So hijinks ensue as Ryan and the Walkers battle each other behind her back. Ultimately, they join forces to thwart Hall, the weapons dealer, before he can unleash a chemical weapon on Washington, D.C. Seems like it makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Writer Hallman has come up with a story concept that recalls Mr. and Mrs. Smith and True Lies, both of which did a better job of finding a consistent tone. One thing
Can I just interject for a second? There was not a problem with tone inconsistency in your script. I don't know where that's coming from.
Okay, let me get through 2 more portions, and then I'm going to stop, drink water, and tell you why this just really hit a nerve.
Okay.
One thing these successful role models for such an espionage action comedy drama have in common is they're finally comedies at their core.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. All action comedies have to strike the proper balance between thrills and laughs in order to pass muster. The problem with this one is that the contrivances tilt the plot toward comedy, but its tone and story emphasis yield a movie that takes itself too seriously. And the sheer volume of coincidences that Hallman sets up would entirely dissolve all credibility in a straight-up dramatic version of such a plot. Let me just pause.
Yeah.
The reason this hit a nerve, and we've done, I think, episodes about this, is writing an action comedy. I've always struggled with finding the balance between action and comedy. And I actually disagree, and I think that things should be more dramatic with comedy. So it's like a 60-40 split of like drama comedy, which is what I thought True Lies was. They're not called comedy actions. They're called action comedies.
Yeah, I agree. I do not classify True Lies as a comedy movie. It is an action movie that has a lot of comedy in it, but it's not silly. At no point is it silly.
How red am I getting right now? Just from sheer frustration.
You've drank a lot of coffee, to be fair.
Okay, I'm almost there. Pull at any thread in the wheels within wheels construct, and this logic is revealed as I'm going to jump ahead.
No, what does it have to say about the logic?
It says, how is it possible, for example, that undercover agent Ryan, after tangling with assassin couple Aidan and Michelle Walker in Budapest, would just happen to run into their daughter Clara at a karaoke bar and fall in love with her, especially when the daughter and parents don't even know they're in the same city at the same time? That makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking.
But they could have been on a family trip.
I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, and
I don't think I would have
that
glossed over that.
Yeah.
Look at me just getting all defensive.
Like I said, coverage isn't always right.
The flimsiness of this is typical of the script as a whole, especially when it comes to the linchpin of what follows, that Ryan and the Walkers each suspect the other as being evil enemies, but somehow never determine who they really are until way, way, way late in the show. In a number of scenes and sequences featuring these apparent adversaries, common sense would dictate that Ryan or the walkers, or both, would ask the obvious question and get to the obvious reveals. But Hall keeps contriving to, oh my God. You know what?
No, this is an interesting point, I think.
Okay.
I know it hurts.
It does.
This is an old script. We're okay.
I want out. Meanwhile, gags are far and few between, even when the character-driven material is the forefront, such as the scene dealing with Aiden's concerns as a father and Ryan's feelings as a husband-to-be. Writer Hallman focuses on the more melodramatic aspects of the situation, with comedic payoffs left on the table. As a result, one keeps waiting for laughs that never materialize or emerge too late.
Neither of us are funny, apparently.
Maybe you don't just focus on character first. Maybe you focus on comedy. Maybe I've been wrong this whole time.
You probably just need to do a strictly comedy pass after you've done the character work.
Here's what also is crazy is I was a new father, and it's funny that it's noted as Aiden's concerns as a father and Ryan's feelings as a husband.
Right. You're like, this is actually real. This is what I was going through.
I think maybe it was a drama. All right, without stronger characterization work and dialogue and a sharper comedic sensibility, the convoluted plot consistently gets the lion's share of the focus, which only draws inadvertent attention to the underlying illogic of the story development. A casualty of all of this is the material's emotional pull, which is largely missing in action. Its hollowness in the project, along with its lack of bigger and more consistent laughs, that make it too tough to endorse as a viable mainstream theatrical feature. Pass, in all caps.
Oh, I want to acknowledge that is rough.
It's not great.
As I said, I disagree with a lot of that stuff, but I think it is interesting because we have a lot of conversations about, personally, as well as on the podcast, about action comedies, and you have them all the time in your generals of like, you want to write more like Lethal Weapon, True Lies, Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of action comedies, not like Central Intelligence or, I don't know, what was that Uber movie? Stuber, which actually was not bad.
Yeah,
but
those
but
are
it
both
is
good.
more comedy forward, right?
Yeah.
And it is difficult to define. It's like when you read it and it's like the team comes together and someone has a vision, like it all kind of makes sense. But it is this very delicate balance, and I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I've had a conversation with the producer who actually said like some of my comedy is more situational comedy, which makes it hard to laugh at, for lack of a better term, unless you're like really reading it. Excuse me. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been told. It wasn't like a dig. It was like, so maybe in this moment, just add a few more like quips or whatever. By the way, while I'm saying this, if anyone wants to read this script engaged, just send us an email and I will send you the script.
God bless you. That's kind.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to read Where the Sidewalk Ends, that's fine too. But
mine's 2018. I mean, like, I actually felt good about that script too. I really liked it.
I liked it too. There is something interesting to like it sounds like the biggest note is things feel too convenient. And that's something that I'm feeling as well. I think in my coverage too is a really strong reminder that cause and effect is of the utmost importance, particularly when you get into Act 2 and you're trying to figure out what the fuck people are doing in this desert of a section of your screenplay. There's so much cause and effect. And then you gave yourself the added difficulty of having sort of like world stakes because it's an action spy thriller. So like that's always really hard to figure out. But I always thought that premise was very clear and that the tone was really clear. So those are weird comments to me.
Hey, it hurt a little bit more than I thought.
Yeah, it's rough. Do you feel like you learned something? Do you feel like, oh, like it hit on common things that I struggle with? Like I know I need to get better at that, or I know I need to, or I have gotten better at that.
Yeah, like the balance between action and comedy. And yes, the convenience. That's another issue with like some of these. I get it. Like I'm aware. It's really that you kind of had to take a leap of faith. You're either in or you're out on that idea. Like I understand that.
And those to me, by the way, are small tweaks. Like if you have a problem with the convenience of meeting her in a karaoke bar in the same town, just like, again, make it a family trip, which I feel like you had already.
I think it was.
Like to me, like those are, and that's probably why Kevin Hart was smart enough to attach himself, was because like those things are easy to fix, I think, in the scheme of things. But if like the core of it is great, and there is this emotional thing where he's the Ryan Reynolds character, who's in my brain, is struggling with how to be a husband for the first time, because he's engaged and meeting the parents, and it's all very overwhelming. And how do I sacrifice? And all those questions that come up is all there in the script.
This is the coverage. This is what happens.
It hurts so bad.
You take it, you digest it, and you move on.
Yeah. And look at us now.
I love that we just read our coverage of scripts that went nowhere, and we're about to talk about Academy Award nominated films.
Full circle. This
Yeah.
is the life that we have signed up for. Okay, let's talk about Oscars. We're going to wrap up with some chat about the Oscars. Okay, Josh Hallman. We were born and raised on Oscars, the Oscars specifically. Movies are incredibly important to us, so we can't quit the Oscars, even though we sort of have snarky feelings about the Oscars in general, and we acknowledge that they are quite political. As I have mentioned before in our Oscar episodes, there was a time where there was a turning point where I was like, the movies that should win are not winning, and I don't know why, and I feel like I'm being gaslit, and I'm going to stop caring. So I do care much less. But I do think that the Oscars, they open up my world a bit, and they make me see things that I wouldn't normally see. And that is something that I really like.
Yeah.
So we're going to specifically only talk about Best Picture, Best Adapted and Original Screenplays. And Josh, I do want to mention, it is the 98th Oscars. It's almost been 100 years of this. This isn't a historic thing.
Yeah. And you said, like, we were raised on this. If it's hard, if you're not of a certain age, back in the day, the Oscars were like
huge,
the greatest thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, they still mean something. I still really like them.
Yeah. Your whole family would watch them, even though they weren't into movies. Yeah.
Totally.
And for the most part, you typically saw most of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I never had the problem I have now, which is like, oh fuck, like where do I see this movie? I didn't even know this movie was out. Well, I've never seen any marketing for this. You just see them because that's how life was.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'm going to start with Best Picture because on this podcast we are screenwriting forward, so I'm going to end with those. This year's nominees for Best Picture, Josh, are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams.
Yeah. Josh
Hallman, what do you think is going to win, and what would you prefer to win?
Okay, I think One Battle is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, I was like, what was my favorite movie of the year? And you're not going to like this. I thoroughly enjoyed F1.
God damn it. Are you kidding?
No, but I think after all of this, I kind of think Sinners was like,
yeah,
I really liked it. And some of these movies are really, like, I really liked Marty Supreme. I've seen all of them, and some of them just were like, oh, these are great movies, but some of them just weren't for me and like my sensibility. And they actually had plots that made sense, unlike my coverage. So
tonally they were consistent.
Yeah, tonally they were consistent, so they didn't really speak to me. But yeah, I think, and it's weird because Sinners has just kind of been sticking in my brain for quite some time, and I just think that was like such a major swing, and I really appreciated it. And it hits like the major swing with like a commercial sensibility, which I think is really hard to do. And that's I think One Battle's going to win though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think One Battle will win. I guess I would put it on this list, but I almost I'm going to be upset when it wins. I also think Sinners has stuck with me the most and is doing exactly what you're talking about. It's so original. It's so, like mainstream and exciting and surprising. And while Begonia was also very surprising to me, it is technically an adaptation. And so I just feel like less like that is a bigger swing. Though I'm sure I've not seen the original thing that it's based on. I'm sure that the difference is quite extreme. But gosh, and all of these movies, like you're saying, like they're so beautiful, like technically very beautiful, very well acted, like flawless movies in and of themselves, except for F1. And I finally finished Frankenstein, by the way.
Nice. What'd you think?
I think it should win for best like production design,
Sure.
but let's stop there.
Okay. You don't like Jacob Elordi?
He's great. He's great.
Okay.
Everyone was great.
Yeah.
Oscar was great. Acting was fantastic. The directing was, it was all fantastic. The story was, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
But it's a personal choice. Like you're saying, yeah, it's like a personal choice. It's not like I watch it, I was like, well, that's a shitty movie. That shouldn't be on there. It absolutely should.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have additional thoughts?
I don't. I thought I was going to be blown away by Marty Supreme. And I really liked it. But I'm not like fighting for it.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
I love Hallman. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, me too. Let's move on to adapted screenplay. Begonia by Will Tracy, adapted from a South Korean movie called Save the Green Planet by Jang Joon Hwan. Interestingly, Jang was actually going to direct the English language one as well, but he had to step down for health reasons. So that's when Yorgos Lanthimos came on to direct it, which I feel like it feels like a Yorgos movie. So I'm very curious what changes might have been made to the script to make it feel that way. And then again, very curious what the original movie is like.
Yeah.
Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro, adapted from the Mary Shelley book, of course. Hamnet by Chloe Zhao and Maggie O'Farrell, adapted from the novel by O'Farrell. I like this story here that when Chloe read the book and was talking to Maggie O'Farrell about adapting it, Maggie was like, I don't want anywhere near that screenplay. And Chloe had to convince her to come on and co-write it with her. And I just find that really interesting because most people don't want an author anywhere near their script. And to actually have to try to convince an author to come on was really interesting. So, yeah.
That was like me when we wrote our Christmas script.
Dragging me. One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson, adapted from the Thomas Pynchon novel Vineland. And then Train Dreams by Clint Bentley and Greg Queter, adapted from the 2011 novella by Dennis Johnson. Going back to One Battle After Another, I think the PTA adaptation of, and this is like his second adaptation of a Pynchon novel, is really interesting because he is one of those people who, when their book is, like vaguely similar, but there's so many essentials that are just very Paul Thomas Anderson that it's a really great education in what adaptation can be. And it can be a jumping off point. It can be, similar to Jaws in many ways. Like Spielberg read Jaws and he was like, I love like this section of the book. I hate this section. I love these themes. I hate these themes. I'm just not even going to deal with them. I'm going to pretend they don't exist. And I'm going to do the movie that makes me feel something. And I think as someone who works in adaptation, it is a important lesson to, find what you love and find your version and find your point of view, but you can use it as a foundation or just like an inspiration.
Yeah.
Josh, which do you think will win and which would you like to win?
I think One Battle will win. And I think I would like that to win.
I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah.
The writing in Begonia is so good. So good.
It is.
Just like the tension that is able to be held in scenes where nothing is going on is fantastic. And that's largely directing, but it's also in the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
Wow. Begonia sneaking in.
Yeah. Writing for original screenplay. Okay, this is our last one. The nominees are Blue Moon by Robert Kaplow, who, interestingly, is not a screenwriter by trade, Josh Hallman. Robert wrote the novel Me and Orson Welles. Do you remember that Zac Efron movie by chance? Ages ago? 2000s maybe?
That's weird. I kind of don't, but it sounds familiar.
He wrote the novel for that and eventually became a movie with Zac Efron, but he did not write that movie. He is an author by trade. He's written 9 books, and he's also a retired high school English and film studies teacher. So, like, that's his job. He's also a comedian. He's performed comedy for NPR, but here he is being nominated for Best Screenplay. So, hey, there's hope for everybody, and this is an incredibly impressive feat.
I love when I hear people like, when you just said he does comedy for NPR. This is my favorite thing because it just, like when people are just creating things and doing
Yeah.
things and performing or do whatever it is, and it all feeds back into writing, in my opinion.
It does. I agree. I love that. Next nominee is It Was Just an Accident by Jafar Panahi with script collaborators, which is a new phrase I've never heard before. With script collaborators, Nader Saver, Shadmer Rostan, and Mehdi Mahmoudian. This one is interesting. The film follows a group of Iranian political prisoners who face the question of whether to exact revenge on a man they believe may be their tormentor. And this collaborators sort of like moniker, I feel like is new. I don't recall seeing it before, but it was included because of the way this film was made, which was basically in this clandestine way, because the main writer-director had been imprisoned several times due to his films, the subject matter of his films. So doing this movie would be considered a crime. So the collaborators here in this case are artists that he has deemed critical to the film's screenplay. And what was interesting to me is that it had to be made in such secret that often the script was passed on orally to the actors. So like one of these collaborators would go to someone's home and speak the script to them so that they would not have a paper trail of this. So the fact that this movie even exists under these conditions, to me, I'm getting ahead of myself, but should win.
Yeah. I feel like what you just described could be a movie itself.
100%. 100% should.
Trying to make a movie.
And will, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up is Marty Supreme by Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie. Sentimental Value by Eskil Voigt and Joachim Trier. And Sinners by Ryan Coogler. Any other year, I would say Sinners for sure. But It Was Just an Accident. That story is so nuts. I have to go there. I don't think it'll win.
So this is going to sound crazy, but although Sentimental Value, not my like perfect cup of tea, just preference wise, I did think the writing I was like, oh wow, this is like fantastic. And maybe it's because there were subtitles and I was actually having to read while it was going on. So I really thought I thought it was amazing writing, and maybe it was amazing acting. It was just amazing overall, but I hope Sinners wins because I really liked it.
Yeah. Like the other movies are sort of more traditional Oscar movies, I think, like biopics, character dramas. And then you got Sinners in there, which is just original weirdness from Ryan's head. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because I didn't think I liked Sinners as much as I did until this was like happening and I started to really think about it. Like I didn't walk out of it and I was like telling people, you need to see, there was none of that. I was like, that was awesome. Okay, cool. And then as I was thinking about how creative it was and the swings it took, like we were talking, like we said, so I thoroughly enjoyed Sinners.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. I am excited to see what actually wins and hope you guys all watch on March 15th.
Yeah.
5 p.m. in Pacific Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's our episode. So I'm going to take us out with the quote of the day.
Let's go.
You can always edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. Jody Picoult. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I am Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.